Hey, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about the Situational Leadership Model, or the Situational Leadership Theory by Paul Hersey and Ken Blanchard. In their original model, they use the level of skill and the level of security of the follower to help determine what style of leadership would be best to address each level of maturity. At the lowest level, they would say that a follower who is just new in a job, for instance, or new at a task, feels very insecure in terms of their ability to get the task done, and their level of skill would also be very low. Versus, for instance, someone who has a high level of confidence in their ability to get a job done, but their level of skill might be a little bit off. You then reach level 3, where you find someone who's very capable, but their willingness to engage might be a little bit low, a little bit off. And then lastly, someone who is very capable and very willing to participate and engage on the task at hand. According to Hersey and Blanchard, there are 4 styles of leadership, each one addressing a different kind of follower. So for instance, with the lowest level follower, the person who is both unable to get the task done because they don't have the skill and also feel insecure, you might go through a process of telling them what to do and actively engaging them to get them to do that. Versus the second level, where you don't really need to give them the skills. They sort of know the skills, but you sort of have to sell them on participating at the task at hand. And then with someone who's very capable, but needs a little bit of nudging, you might, for instance, use a participating form of leadership where it's all about getting them to be willing to be involved. And then last but not least, with someone who's very capable, very skilled, and very willing, it was all about delegating to that person and giving them space. Now, Blanchard follows up on this with Situational Leadership version 2. Now, this version says, instead of using the level of maturity, maybe we need to use the level of development for the follower. Now, here we have something like the enthusiastic beginner, the person who has a low level of confidence but is really highly committed. So it's not quite the same as the first version where it's both insecure and doesn't have the skills. Here we're talking about someone who's highly committed, wants to get involved, but just doesn't have the ability to because they don't have the skills. Versus the disillusioned learner, the D2, who is someone who has a low to middling level of competence in terms of what they know, the skills that they can bring to bear, but their commitment might be a little bit low and their willingness to get involved might be a little bit low. That's followed up by the capable but cautious performer, the person who's highly competent but may not realize the level of their skills and be wary of taking on tasks because they feel like their levels and their ability to get a task done isn't necessarily high. So they might have a low or a variable level of commitment depending on how they feel about the task and whether they feel they'll be able to accomplish it. And then you've got the D4, that self-reliant achiever, that person who very much knows where they're at and is capable and understands that their skills and the task at hand go hand in hand and they are capable of doing the job. Here as well, Blanchard comes up with 4 different types of leadership, 4 styles of leadership to address these types of developmental levels. So the first style of leadership for that low level of confidence but that high level of commitment would be someone who needs a lot of directing. So it's a high level of direction, but you don't need to support them. You don't need to be patting their back so much. They want to be doing what they're doing. You can see that they're committed and they're trying and they want to be involved. So they don't necessarily need to be motivated to get involved. What they need is help understanding the skills or breaking down to the goals and the objectives so that they can understand how to get the task done. Versus, for instance, D2, that person who has low to middle level competence, but their level of commitment isn't so high. These people need a high level of direction because they're not yet as skilled as you would want them to be, but they're also not as committed. So you really do need to be supportive, giving them that coaching that they need in order to get the job done, but also to get them involved and make them want to be involved. Then in order to respond to, for instance, that third level of development, where you have a moderate to high level of competence, but a variable level of commitment, this is the person who needs a lot of support. They don't need a lot of direction once they know and understand that you believe as the leader that they are capable of getting the job done. They know what they need to do. They know how to get the job done. They just don't feel like they're capable of getting it done. So by supporting them and showing them that you understand and that you believe in them, it raises their level of confidence and it gives them the ability to engage effectively. And last but not least, that 4th highest level of development, that person who is both highly competent and highly committed. This is a person who doesn't need a lot of hands-on. He doesn't need a lot of support. He might need just a quick, here's the goal and here's a check-in, but there's no need for major direction and there's no need for a lot of interaction on the part of the leader. It's really just, hey, here's what I want you to do and I totally trust that you're going to be able to get this done. And that's it. And the ability to walk away and at the end of the day, know that they're going to get that job done. So if we think about it, someone who's in the directing zone, someone who needs that kind of direction, this is about guiding process and direction. It's about being an authoritative authoritative leader. It's about really taking a hands-on approach and engaging as much as possible, but not necessarily giving them the pep talk, more about breaking it down for them because they're willing and able to get the thing done if you show them how. Versus that D2 where it very much is about explaining and persuading. It's about being paternal and coaching them along so that along the way they see that you are involved and are checking in, not because you want to micromanage, but because you know that their skills might be up to snuff. You just want to check in and see if they need any help along the way or if they need any guidance. Then you've got that moderate to high level of confidence. They want to see the leader participating with them. They want to almost see them helping with the problem solving so that anything that comes up won't present a major obstacle that might detrimentally impact outcome or might lead them to feel frustrated and feel like they are not going to be successful at the task at hand. And last but not least, the level 4, it's not that they want to completely be ignored, because no, I don't think any follower just wants to be told, here, do this, and be left alone entirely. But they do want to have a little bit of observing, a little bit of monitoring, perhaps a check-in here and there. But more or less, this is a laissez-faire kind of interaction where you can be hands-off. And the interesting thing for your D3 and D4, the thing they might need most is a little bit of path goal leadership, where they know the path, they understand the path, and it's only when there's some kind of obstacle that makes it difficult for them, and they come and say, hey, I need help, that's where you might need to get involved, especially for that D4 level. So Hersey and Blanchard have given us the ability to not only look at followership, the developmental or maturity level of the follower, but have also tried to connect between followership and what styles of leadership best address those types of followers. And this connection is really important because it allows us to understand that each follower needs a different kind of leader. Not a different leader, but a different kind of leadership. So you might have on one team some D1s, some D2s, some D3s, and a few D4s. And while you may talk to the team as a whole in one way, each of them requires a special, unique style for them when it comes to their tasks, their job, and how committed they are and how willing they are to get the job done, given what they feel they're capable of doing. And if we know that, we're able to not only create a greater sense of purpose for the entire team, we can also show each of the people where they fall within the work that the team has to get done. Thanks for checking in. See you next time.